Hello everyone, I'm honored to present our research titled I Need to Work Hard, the impact of imposter phenomenon to burnout and the moderating of psychological capital. My name is Yang Jingyi and the other presenter is Liao Yiling. Today we explore a critical psychological paradox, why high-achieving newcomers often feel like frauds and how it drives them towards burnout. This is today's agenda. First, I'd like to provide an overview of our study. While the relationships between the imposter phenomenon, workaholism, and burnout have been widely discussed, most extant literature examines them only in isolated pairs. Our research addressed this gap by investigating a specific indirect process, how the internal pressure of feeling like a fake leads to the external behavior of overwork, which eventually results in burnout. Drawing on the JDR model, we conceptualize the imposter phenomenon as a form of personal resource depletion. We argue that this drives workaholism, a personal demand that heightens burnout risk. Crucially, we identify psychological capital as a boundary condition that can moderate this negative path. Based on our sample of 112 employees in Taiwan, we confirmed that workaholism is the critical bridge in this process. However, our results also show that high psych can effectively weaken the link between overwork and burnout. These findings offer a clear roadmap for supporting the well-being of early career professionals. In this study, we look at the psychological paradox of workplace newcomers. Despite their achievement, many suffer from the imposter phenomenon, attributing success to luck rather than merit. To compensate for this internal insecurity, they fall into the imposter cycle, which drives them toward workaholism. This continuous hypervigilance creates a heavy psychological burden, leading to resource exhaustion and eventually job burnout. While extant research has looked at these variables in pairs, our study addressed a critical gap, the systematic pathway from IP to burnout via workaholism. Furthermore, we introduced psychological capital, comprising hope, resilience, and efficacy, as a potential rescue mechanism. Our objectives are twofold. First, to confirm if workaholism is indeed the behavioral bridge leading to burnout, and second, to see if developing psychological resource can effectively buffer this negative impact, providing a roadmap for early career mental health. By verifying the causal and interactive relationship between variables, this study focuses on the following. First, exploring whether IP is positively related to burnout. Second, examining whether IP increases individual workaholism tendencies. Third, verifying the positive correlation between workaholism and burnout. Fourth, analyzing the mediating effect of workaholism between IP and burnout. Last one, examining the moderating effect of psych on the relationship between workaholism and burnout. To empirically test our framework, we conducted a quantitative study targeting workplace newcomers. We utilized purposive sampling to recruit 112 valid participants in Taiwan who have been in the workforce for less than 3 years. This specific group was chosen because they are in the critical stage of real identity and are most vulnerable to the imposter phenomenon. For our measurement tools, we selected four globally recognized scales with high reliability. Imposter phenomenon, the Calais IP scale, using a 5-point Likert scale. Workaholism, the Duwas 10, measuring both excessive and compulsive work dimensions. Job burnout, the Copenhagen burnout inventory, specifically focusing on work-related exhaustion. Psychological capital, the CPC 12R, covering efficacy, optimism, hope, and resilience. Finally, for data processing, we utilized SPSS 27 for descriptive and correlation analysis. To test the cover of our study, the moderating mediation effect, we employed high process Markov. Specifically, we used Model 14 to examine the mediation role of workaholism, and Model 14 to test if psychological capital buffers the relationships between workaholism and burnout. We used 5,000 bootstrap examples to ensure the stability of our statistical inferences.
If you look at blue section, you can see that the imposter phenomena is significantly and positively correlated with both workaholism and burnout. This indicates the individuals experiencing the imposter phenomena are more likely to develop workaholism and burnout. The red section shows the significant positive correlation between workaholism and burnout. Means those who are workaholic are more prone to experiencing burnout. Meanwhile, the green section highlighting a significant negative correlation between psychological capital and burnout, suggesting the individual with higher psychological capital are less likely to suffer from burnout. The yellow highlighting section presents our control variables. Previous studies had found that females are more prone to the imposter phenomena than males. Age is a potential antecedent of psychological capital, and work tenure presents accumulated workplace experience, serving a similar role as age. Therefore, we controlled for gender, age, and tenure to ensure our results are not confounded by those factors. As you can see in our sample, gender is indeed positively correlated with the imposter phenomenon, confirming that females are more likely to experience it. Furthermore, both age and tenure are positively correlated with psychological capital, indicated that older or more experienced employees tend to have stronger psychological capital. Next, let's move on to the mediation analysis. The table on the left shows the regression result using process model 4. In the blue section, we can see that although the imposter phenomena is positively correlated with burnout, the effect is not significant. Thus, hypothesis 1 is unsupported. The red section shows a significant positive relationship between the imposter phenomenon and workaholism, which support hypothesis 2. The green section indicates a significant positive relationship between workaholism and burnout, supporting hypothesis 3. On the right, we have the result for the mediation analysis. The 95% bootstrap confidence interval does not include 0, which means the mediation effect is significant. Therefore, hypothesis 4 is also supported. Following that is the moderation analysis, which we conduct using process model 14. The regression results show that the interaction term between work horizon and psychological capital has a significant effect on burnout. To further examine whether this interaction aligns with our expand pattern, we follow Icahn and West's procedure, aiding subtracting one standard deviation to plot the interaction effect and conduct a simple slope analysis. The plotted results shown in the figure on the right confirm that the interaction pattern matches our expectation. Compared to this with higher psychological capital, the positive impact of work horizon on burnout is much stronger for individuals with lower psychological capital. From the simple slope analysis and the 95% bootstrap confidence intervals, we can also see that for the sky blue line, representing low psychological capital, the relationship between work horizon and burnout is significant. Conversely, for the pink line, representing high psychological capital, this relationship is not significant. Finally, looking at the index of moderated mediation in the red section, we can see that moderated mediation effect is significant. Therefore, hypothesis 5 is fully supported. To briefly summarizing our findings, as you can see in the red section, hypothesis 1 was unsupported. The imposter phenomena does not directly lead to burnout. Instead, the impact is non-immediate and driven by a continual drain on the resource. This brings us to our supported hypothesis in the green section, which outlined a clear behavioral pathway. Driven by inner insecurity, imposter tendency leads directly to work horizon, supporting H2. In turn, this over-exertion depletes mental resource, which eventually leads to burnout, aligning perfectly with the conservation of resource theory for H3. Therefore, as H4 states, these compensatory workaholic behaviors serve as a crucial mediator that directly triggers burnout. Fortunately for H5, we identified psychological capital as a vital buffer that mitigates these negative impacts.
Having established that workaholism is the critical bridge leading to burnout, and the psychological capital acts as a vital buffer, we propose 4 strategic implications for HR practice and organizational leadership. First, organization must identify and address the heightened psychological state of employees with imposter tendencies. Our findings show that even if these employees appear high-performing, their internal anxiety may be driving them toward exhaustion. Managers should heighten their sensitivity to these traits, especially among newcomers or in high-pressure environments. We suggest regular, non-judgmental dialogue to help employees clarify their self-worth and break the cycle of anxiety-driven preparation. Second, we must remain vigilant. Overworking is often a sign of workaholism, not just high engagement. It is crucial for an organization to distinguish between active engagement and compulsive involvement. Since workaholism leads to rapid resource depletion, We recommend implementing mandatory lead mechanisms, promoting a culture that encourages employees to fully disengage after work hours. Third, prioritize the development of psychological capital. Since PsyCap exerts a protective function that buffers work stress, it is second investment for any firm. We recommend training course and coaching focused on the hero dimensions: hope, self-efficacy, resilience, and optimism. This enhances the overall stress endurance of the workforce. Finally, we must foster a supportive and psychologically safe organization culture. When employees feel like support, they they veer toward compensatory overwork. Organizations should create an environment that affirms individual differences and permits learning from mistakes. By providing timely affirmation and positive guidance, supervisors can alleviate performance anxiety and foster a stable sense of belonging. In conclusion, protecting our talent requires looking beyond the surface on their performance to the psychological drivers underneath. And this is our presentation. Thank you.